So what can you tell us about your relationship with Jessica in the show?
Well, it's a sisterly relationship, really. I play Trish Walker, who is, you know, a loyal, put upon, sometimes jealous, sometimes codependent, dear friend of Jessica Jones. And in some respects, she's kind of the voice of reason to Jessica's struggles a little bit. But we soon learn in the episodes in the back half of the series that Trish has her own kind of tumult and her own kind of dark history going on.
Okay, and we know, of course, in the comic that she has a superhero alter ego. So how much of that plays into your performance, knowing that that could potentially happen to her at some point?
Yeah, look, somewhere in the back of my actor's brain, I just had this idea that as much as, you know, she's a fiercely loyal and deeply supportive friend of Jessica Jones, that there's just a little sliver of something kind of covetous. That I think if Trish Walker had the kind of superhero powers that Jessica Jones had, she would probably try and rule the world. I think there's a little piece of her that would love to see Jessica kind of pull it together and put the booze down and get over, you know, her very, very abusive and tumultuous past with Kilgrave and use her powers for great good. And you'll see in the series that works out to some degree, and to some degree it doesn't.
Could we potentially see the Hellcat? Is that the character's name?
Hellcat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would welcome getting in a yellow bodysuit, kind of, I think. But, you know, as with all great things Marvel, they're incredibly and rightfully secretive about these things, so who knows. But I know that we were very much encouraged when we were making Jessica Jones that it was Jessica Jones as seen for television, and that we shouldn't stick to the comic books too strictly. And Trish Walker doesn't appear in Alias, so there are a couple of little creative leaps on our part.
Right, because in the comic it was more the Carol Danvers character who was sort of Jessica's buddy, I guess, right?
Right, exactly.
So did you go back and read the comics even though your character's not in it?
Yeah, I read Alias just for tone and because it's a beautiful comic and that it's beautifully illustrated. As you can kind of see by the posters, it has this amazing kind of watercolor noir, and there are images in our series that are literally lifted directly out of the comic books. It's so beautiful. So I read Alias just for fun, really, and for tone for our show, and then I went back and I read the Patsy Walker comic books, because Melissa Rosenberg, our showrunner, had the kind of genius idea, which you see more of later in the series, like after episode 7, that my character was a child star who had a television show called It's Patsy. So the Patsy Walker comic book is kind of woven in to my character's backstory in this really kind of inventive way. Because the Patsy Walker comic books are super cute.
Yeah. It goes back really far, actually, doesn't it?
Like late 1940s, 1950s.
That's right.